I still remember the moment my name was skipped during the promotion announcement. My hands went cold. My heart felt like it stopped. Everyone clapped for her. Melissa, my coworker, my supposed friend. She turned and gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. And then the boss said it. We had to reconsider Sierra's performance after some serious mistakes came to light. Mistakes? What mistakes? I'd spent nights working late, missing dinners, perfecting reports. But somehow my perfect files, had errors. That day I didn't just lose a promotion. I lost my credibility, my respect, my voice. What hurt most wasn't that Melissa won. It was knowing that she'd framed me to do it. I told myself I'd move on. But when you give your all and someone destroys it with lies, you don't move on. You rise. Quietly. Carefully. Until they never see it coming. This is the story of how I lost everything in that office. And how I took it all back. My name is Sierra, I'm 32. And until a few months ago I believed I had the perfect life. Not perfect in a dreamy way, just stable, predictable, safe. I had a modest apartment that smelled faintly of jasmine and fresh coffee every morning. I'd wake up at 6:30, feed my cat Milo, pour a cup of dark roast, and watch the sunrise hit the buildings outside my window. For a few quiet minutes everything felt right. I worked at a marketing firm called Silverline Strategies. It wasn't glamorous, but it was home. I'd been there for almost 7 years, long enough to see people come and go, long enough to earn the trust of my bosses. I wasn't the loudest person in the office, but I was the one people came to when they needed something done right. And that's probably why I let my guard down. See, when you spend years in one place, you start to believe the people around you are family. You share coffee breaks, weekend plans, inside jokes. You think loyalty means something. That's what I thought about Melissa. She joined the company 2 years after me. Bubbly, ambitious, always dressed in pastels. She was the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday and brought cupcakes to the office. Just because. We clicked instantly. She'd stop by my desk every morning, leaning on the edge with a warm smile. "Morning, partner in crime," she'd say. And I'd laugh. "You're the crime, I'm just the cover-up." We worked on projects together. We stayed late, ordered takeout, complained about deadlines. Sometimes, after long nights, we'd walk to the parking lot together under the fluorescent lights, exhausted but laughing. She'd tell me about her dating life. And I'd tell her how much I wanted to lead my own team one day. The promotion was supposed to be my next step. I'd been training for it for months. My supervisor even told me, "It's practically yours, Sierra. You've earned it." I believed him. Then one morning things started to feel off. It was small at first. A missing file, a client email that I didn't remember sending, numbers in a report that didn't match. I brushed it off as stress. But then my manager called me into his office. "Sierra, we need to talk about these discrepancies," he said, tapping on a stack of printouts. "This isn't like you." I remember staring at the papers, my throat tightening. It was my project, my name on every page, but I hadn't made those errors. "Sir, I don't understand," I whispered. "Those numbers were double-checked." He sighed. "Look, maybe you've been overwhelmed. Just be more careful." I walked out of that office feeling hollow. My coworkers gave me sympathetic looks. One of them even whispered, "Tough break, huh?" as I passed. Melissa was waiting at my desk. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, concern soft in her eyes. "I don't know," I admitted. "Something's wrong with my files." "That's weird," she said, frowning. "Maybe you saved over them by accident?" Her tone was gentle, too gentle. I didn't notice it then, but looking back, there was something rehearsed in the way she said it. That night I stayed late trying to fix everything. The office was empty, except for the hum of the AC and the glow of my monitor. My fingers trembled as I checked every document, every folder. And that's when I found it. A backup file hidden deep inside a shared drive, with timestamps that didn't match my working hours. Someone had changed my data. Deliberately. I sat there frozen, the screen burning my eyes. And suddenly I remembered Melissa's words. "Maybe you saved over them by accident." No. She knew. Still, I didn't want to believe it. I told myself there had to be another explanation. Maybe IT messed up, maybe there was a sync error. I wanted to hold on to the idea that my friend, my only friend at work, wasn't capable of that kind of betrayal. The next morning she brought me coffee. My favorite, caramel latte, extra foam. You look tired, she said. Rough night. Yeah, I replied, forcing a smile. Just trying to sort things out. Well, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I'm sure it'll all work out. And then she walked away, her heels clicking across the floor like a countdown I couldn't hear yet. If only I'd known what was coming. The following week felt like walking through a fog I couldn't escape. Every time I turned on my computer, I half expected another email about an error I didn't make. The air in the office felt heavier. People stopped chatting when I passed by. Whispers followed me like shadows. Then it happened. Monday morning, our manager, Mr. Doyle, called for an emergency meeting. Everyone shuffled into the glass conference room, the one that always smelled faintly of burnt coffee and carpet cleaner. My heart raced. I could see my reflection in the glass, tired eyes, trembling hands. Melissa sat across from me. Perfect posture. Calm smile. She had her notebook open, pen ready, as if she already knew what was coming. Team, Mr. Doyle began, clearing his throat. We've been reviewing the analytics project Sierra led last quarter. He glanced at me briefly, then back at the papers. Unfortunately, several inconsistencies were found, and it's caused a client to question our reliability. The words hit like a physical blow. I felt heat rush to my face. Sir, I said, my voice shaking slightly, I already went through those reports. I corrected everything. There must be. We double-checked. He interrupted, his tone cold. The data was altered, Sierra. It's your login on the changes. I froze. My login? Melissa leaned forward slightly, her expression concerned, too concerned. Maybe it wasn't her fault, she said softly. Could it be a virus, or maybe someone else used her account? Her tone was kind, but it was the kind of kindness that burns. Mr. Doyle sighed. We checked the logs. All activity came from Sierra's computer. The room went silent. My pulse thudded in my ears. I wanted to scream, to stand up and shout that I didn't do it, but all I could do was sit there, feeling the walls close in. I could feel their judgment, their pity. We'll have to delay the promotion decision, Mr. Doyle added, not even meeting my eyes. Until this is resolved. That was it. No discussion. No defense. Just punishment. When the meeting ended, everyone filed out quickly, except Melissa. She lingered near the doorway, pretending to scroll through her phone. Hey, she said, approaching me. That was rough. Are you okay? I looked up, my voice low. Did you know about this? She blinked. What? No, of course not. Then she tilted her head, her eyes soft with sympathy. But maybe you've just been under too much pressure lately. Melissa, I didn't make those changes. I know, she said gently, placing a hand on my arm. But sometimes stress makes us forget things. She smiled, that same soft smile she'd always given me, and walked away. I stared after her, my stomach twisting. Something inside me knew. Over the next few days, my workload was quietly reduced. I was excluded from client calls I used to lead. I'd walk into meetings to find my seat already taken, my slides replaced with Melissa's name. And then the email came. Subject: promotion announcement. My hands trembled as I clicked it open. We're thrilled to announce Melissa Hart as our new senior project manager. Her leadership and commitment to excellence have been exemplary. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. Minutes later, applause filled the office. Melissa stood near the center, pretending to look surprised, hand over her chest. Oh my God, I can't believe this, she said, laughing. Thank you so much, everyone. She turned toward me. Our eyes met for just a second. Her smile was sharp, victorious. That night, I didn't go home right away. I sat in my car in the parking lot, the rain tapping against the windshield. My phone buzzed, a text from Melissa. Melissa. I know today must have been hard. Let's grab coffee tomorrow, my treat, red heart. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. My hands clenched around the phone until my knuckles went white. That was the moment something inside me broke. Not in defeat, but in clarity. She didn't just take my promotion. She took my name, my trust, my worth. And for that she would pay. But not the way she expected. The week after the promotion announcement felt like a blur. A long gray stretch of days that all bled together. I still went to work, still smiled when people passed my desk, but inside, everything was hollow. I'd wake up before dawn, heart pounding, Even before the alarm went off, my bed felt cold. The scent of coffee, the one that used to comfort me, made me nauseous. I'd stare at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, trying to recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes were dull, rimmed with red, and her lips kept trembling like she was one breath away from falling apart. At the office, people had moved on. The congratulations for Melissa were over, the gossip had faded, but the silence that followed was worse. Every time someone mentioned her name, it was like a tiny blade pressing against my ribs. She'd stop by my desk sometimes with that fake sweetness. "Hey, you're coming to the team dinner Friday, right?" "I don't know," I'd mumble, not looking up. "Come on," she'd say, her voice light. "It won't be the same without you." And she'd smile, that same practiced smile, before walking away. At first I thought maybe I could ignore it, keep my head down, focus on work, rebuild quietly. But the damage was already done. My name was tainted. Clients I used to lead wouldn't even CC me in emails anymore. My manager stopped asking for my opinion during meetings. I became invisible. I remember one evening sitting at my desk after everyone left. The lights above buzzed faintly. The air smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. My computer screen glowed with a half-finished report I didn't care about anymore. My phone buzzed, a message from my mom. "Mom. Hi honey, haven't heard from you this week. You okay?" I typed a reply. "Yeah, just busy." Then deleted it. Typed it again. Deleted it once more. Finally, I turned off the phone and just sat there, listening to the sound of my own breathing. When I got home that night, Milo, my cat, rubbed against my leg, purring softly. I sank onto the couch and stared at the wall for what felt like hours. The city lights outside flickered through the window, painting my living room in a dim orange glow. Tears came slowly at first, then uncontrollably. I buried my face in my hands, the sobs shaking my whole body. It wasn't just about the promotion. It was about trust. About giving someone every part of your loyalty and watching them use it as a weapon against you. I thought about every late night Melissa and I shared, every laugh, every secret I told her. She'd listened, nodded, pretended to care, while planning her next move. The realization burned worse than the betrayal itself. Days turned into weeks. I started making mistakes, real ones this time. I'd forget meetings, send unfinished drafts. My manager called me in again. "Sierra, is everything all right?" he asked, his tone softer this time. I forced a smile. "Just tired. Take a few days off," he said, glancing at his screen. "Maybe get some rest." Rest. What a funny word. How do you rest when your mind replays every conversation, every smile, every stab in the back? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it all, the fake concern in her voice, the way she said, "Maybe you saved over them by accident." No, this wasn't an accident. It was a performance. And I had been the fool clapping from the front row. Around 3 a.m., I got up and walked to my desk. My computer screen flickered as I opened my old project folders. I scrolled through timestamps, file histories, emails, searching for something, anything. I didn't even know what I was looking for. But then, I saw it. An old system backup file. One that predated the errors. Hidden in a shared drive, under a subfolder Melissa and I use for drafts. My pulse quickened as I clicked through it. And there it was. Her username. Log changes. The exact edits that broke the data. For a long time I just stared at the screen, my hands trembling. The evidence. Proof that I wasn't crazy. But instead of relief, a strange calm washed over me, cold, deliberate. Because in that moment I realized something. If she could manipulate, lie, and destroy my name so easily, then I could do the same, only smarter. And unlike her, I'd make sure everyone saw the truth unfold. Not through shouting. Not through rage. Through quiet, careful, undeniable justice. That night, as the first light of dawn crept through my curtains, I whispered to myself, "You wanted a game, Melissa, fine. Let's play." After that night, something inside me shifted. The tears dried up. The trembling stopped. I wasn't Sierra, the quiet, dependable coworker anymore. I was someone else, someone watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment. I spent the next few days pretending nothing had changed. I showed up on time, smiled when people said good morning, even congratulated Melissa again when she passed by my desk. "You really deserved that promotion," I told her. "Thanks," she said with a grin that didn't hide her pride. You'll get your turn soon. If only she knew. A night I became obsessed. My laptop became my weapon. I began collecting everything: backups, emails, message logs, project notes. I built a private folder called Mirror. Because that's what I planned to do: hold a mirror up to her lies until everyone saw them for what they were. Every piece of data told a story. Edits she made under my name. Files she accessed when she wasn't supposed to. Drafts she deleted right before errors appeared. I cross-referenced everything with timestamps from the company's internal systems. Slowly, a pattern formed, clean, undeniable. But evidence alone wasn't enough. In an office like ours, truth doesn't matter unless it's seen by the right people. So I planned something more elegant. Our company had an upcoming client presentation, one of the biggest of the year. Melissa was leading it, of course. She'd been bragging about it for weeks. "It's a huge opportunity," she said in the break room one morning, stirring her coffee. "If this goes well, I might even get to oversee the New York expansion." I smiled. "That's amazing. I'm sure you'll crush it." And I meant it, just not in the way she thought. Over the next week, I subtly offered to help her prepare the presentation. She was arrogant enough to accept. That gave me access to her project folder, the same drive where she'd once tampered with mine. This time, though, I didn't delete or alter anything. I simply added a small, hidden segment to the end of her presentation. One that would automatically play during her live pitch. It looked like a normal slide transition, but when it ran, it would show a compilation of her digital tracks. Timestamps, logins, and document histories. Each one clearly tied to her edits in my project. Nothing exaggerated. Nothing fake. Just the truth. It was poetic, really. Her downfall presented by her own work. But still I hesitated. Late one night I sat in front of my computer, the screen casting pale light on my face. My heart raced. Part of me wondered if I'd gone too far. Revenge made me just like her. Then I remembered the look on her face the day she stole my future. The satisfied calm, the cruel confidence. No, this wasn't cruelty. This was balance. 2 nights before the presentation, I ran one last test. The video played flawlessly. Every file matched perfectly. When it ended, the screen faded to black with one final line of text I'd added. "Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching." It wasn't signed. Didn't need to be. The next morning, Melissa stopped by my desk. "Hey, I know you've had a rough few weeks," she said, her tone sugar-sweet. "If you want, I can put in a good word for you with the regional director." I smiled softly. "That's kind of you. I'll think about it." Inside, I almost laughed. She thought she'd won. That night I couldn't sleep. My body was still, but my mind was on fire. Every breath heavy with anticipation. I watched the clock tick past midnight, my hand resting on the mouse, hovering over the backup file. My heart whispered, "Tomorrow she'll finally see herself the way I've seen her all along." And for the first time in weeks, I fell asleep with a calm, steady smile. Not out of cruelty. Out of peace. Because justice was coming quietly, beautifully, and exactly the way she deserved. I spent that weekend at home, lights off, replaying every conversation, every glance Melissa had ever given me. I finally saw it, the pattern. She had been planting seeds for months. Small rumors, subtle comments, innocent mistakes that always seemed to lead back to me. But now that I knew her game, it was my turn to play. On Monday, I walked into the office calm, collected, wearing my quietest smile. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about anger, it was about precision. The first move was information. Melissa loved gossiping, especially when she thought she was safe. So I played along. I became her confidant again, the one she could whisper her little secrets to during lunch breaks. She didn't know that every word she said was fuel for my plan. One day, while sipping her overpriced latte, she bragged, "Honestly, Sierra, I just knew how to be at the right place at the right time. Luck favors the smart, right?" She winked. That's when I noticed something on her laptop. A folder labeled Reports Under Review for 2024. It was the same name as the one I'd used before my files got accidentally corrupted. My pulse spiked, but I stayed composed. That night, I stayed late at the office like old times. When everyone left, I accessed the shared drive. Hidden inside one of the folders was a subfolder with my name on it. Inside were screenshots, edited documents, and email threads, all doctored to make me look incompetent. She hadn't even bothered to delete them. She was that confident. I copied everything. Every file. Every timestamp. Every trace of her manipulation. Then I did something she would never expect. I made a few of my own mistakes. Subtle enough to look real, but smart enough to lead back to her version of the truth. Over the next week, Melissa started to panic. She noticed inconsistencies. Files she thought were hidden began to appear in shared folders. People started asking questions. Hey Melissa, did you edit Sierra's reports back in March? One coworker asked casually in the break room. Her face drained of color. What? No. Why would I? I smiled from my desk, pretending not to hear. Because when someone builds their empire on lies, all you have to do is remove one brick. And the whole thing collapses. By Friday I had one final piece ready, an email. A clean, professional summary of the evidence, attached with timestamps and screenshots. I didn't send it yet. I waited. Because the perfect revenge isn't loud. It's timed. And my time was coming. The following Monday, the office buzzed with tension I could almost taste. Melissa walked in, her confidence dimmed but not gone. She still smiled, too brightly, too forced, as if she could sense something was off but couldn't quite place it. She didn't know I'd already planted every piece of evidence where it needed to be. Not on her computer. Not in her inbox. But in the right hands. The department head, Mr. Graham, had asked for an audit of our reports for the last quarter, something Melissa thought she could control. But I'd left subtle trails in the shared drive. Files with her edit history. Timestamps that connected directly to her account. It was like watching a slow-motion avalanche she couldn't stop. At 10 a.m., I was called into the conference room. So was she. Melissa strutted in first, pretending calm, clutching her tablet like a shield. I followed, quiet and steady. Mr. Graham looked serious. Behind him, the HR manager sat with folded arms, a printed file in front of her. Sierra, Mr. Graham began, we've reviewed your work, and it appears there were inconsistencies not from your end, but from someone else's account. Melissa's head snapped up. Wait, what? What do you mean? The HR manager turned a page. These edits were made under your login, Melissa. The metadata doesn't lie. Melissa's voice cracked. No, that's impossible. Someone must have hacked me. I stayed silent. I didn't need to say a word. My calmness spoke louder than her panic. Then Mr. Graham projected the audit report on the screen. Line by line, every altered document, every faked mistake was traced back to her. And there it was, the folder labeled Sierra sitting right in her personal drive. The room went silent. She turned to me, eyes wide, face pale. You set me up. I met her gaze evenly. No, Melissa. You set yourself up. I just stopped covering for you. The HR manager spoke quietly but firmly. Melissa, we'll have to suspend you pending further investigation. She tried to argue, to plead, but her voice was shaking. Her words tangled. The more she talked, the guiltier she sounded. When she stormed out, I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. Because revenge, when done right, doesn't need an audience. It just needs truth. After the meeting, Mr. Graham stopped by my desk. Sierra, he said, I owe you an apology. We should have looked closer before. I nodded, keeping my tone neutral. We all make mistakes. What matters is that they're corrected. Inside, though, I felt something deeper than satisfaction, peace. Not because she was gone, but because I was free. I'd spent months letting someone else control the story of my worth. Now I had taken it back, word by word, file by file, truth by truth. As I left the office that evening, the sunset hit the glass walls just right. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel invisible. I felt unstoppable. It's been 6 months since that day. Melissa never came back. Rumor had it she tried to clear her name, but the evidence was undeniable. Eventually she resigned. Quietly. Without a goodbye. As for me, I stayed for a while. Long enough to see the dust settle, to rebuild my reputation, to watch how quickly people's perception changes once the truth is on your side. Mr. Graham offered me her position not long after. A neat, poetic ending, the kind you'd expect in a movie. But I surprised everyone, including myself. I turned it down. Because somewhere in the chaos I realized, I didn't want to be defined by this office, or by the games people played here. I wanted peace, not power. So I took a leap. I started my own consulting business. Small at first, just me and my laptop, a stack of client folders, and a candle burning by the window. Every morning I brewed my coffee, the smell of roasted beans filling the kitchen, and reminded myself how far I'd come. Freedom tasted different. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, like the morning sun touching your face after a long sleepless night. Sometimes I still think about her, Melissa. Not with anger anymore, but with clarity. Because what she did taught me something I could never have learned otherwise. That no one can truly take your worth unless you hand it to them. The world will always have its Melissas, people who step on others to climb higher. But life has a way of balancing things out. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way you expect, but truth has its timing. And when it finally arrives, it doesn't scream. It whispers. It restores. So if you've ever been betrayed by a coworker, a friend, or someone you trusted, remember this. You don't need to destroy them to win. You just need to stop letting them control your peace. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't making them fall. It's standing tall while they fade into their own shadows. Soft pause, reflective tone. If you've ever been in my place, I want you to know you're not alone. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like, share your experience in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like this. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear what you've learned. That strength isn't loud. It's quiet and calm. And it always comes after the storm. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply breathes in peace.